אשר קדישנו ומצוותיו, וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק. Okay, ladies. So, what are we doing tonight? We're going to talk about Passover. Okay. So good to see you. I was going to say, I can't imagine you were coming for the cigars. No. I'm not. No. We have our. It's a teaching class on cigars. There's classes on cigars, but there's cigars for. It's teaching with cigars. Yes. It's teaching with cigars. Okay. So please make sure you pan out. So, in case you're not aware, we have this holiday coming up called Pesach or Passover. Passover is, in many ways, the most. Even the Jew who knows nothing knows about Passover. Even the Jew who knows nothing knows, that there's Passover and they saw 10 Commandments, or they saw Prince of Egypt, or they saw Christian Bale's version, Exodus meets Terminator, whatever it might be.
Or the new one, Moses, on Netflix.
Oh, there's a new Moses on Netflix? How is it?
I like all of it except for one part.
That's not bad. What part?
Where one of the people that was explaining was saying, "Oh, this is Moses from the land of Egypt, Canaan, Palestine."
No, are you kidding me?
No, they killed it for me. I gotta figure out what to write to Netflix. You need to
I need to watch it so I can write an article about that. Okay.
Yes, please do.
All right, so. Wow.
Yeah, I was just stunned. I'm saying it's 5 parts. The whole story is beautifully done, except for that.
Will you just show me what part that is? I just need to know what part that is so I can watch it.
Part 1 or 2.
Okay. Wow. All right, so there are more books written about Passover than any other Jewish topic. Okay? There are more everything about Passover, and yet there's so little known really about it or what it is at a deeper level. And it is so important. On a simplistic and deep level at the same time, the Pesach is, we know the story, right? Angel of death or God passes over. But there's a great Hasidic story that I really like that we tell in our family every year for Pesach, which is that a Rabbi Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev. Oh, I'm getting him smoked out. Am I smoking you out, Alan?
No, it's over the shoulder.
Oh, okay. So that Rabbi Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev had finished his Seder, and so he sat back, relaxed, took a deep breath, was so proud of himself, and then he heard a bat kol, a voice of God, and the voice of God said, "More pleasing to me than your Seder was the Seder of Chaim the water carrier." Next morning, he asked some of his chassids, "Can you please find Chaim the water carrier?" Well, Chaim lived at the very end of the village and was a drunk. Okay, truly a drunken alcoholic, but like a drunk, not like an alcoholic. I mean, like a drunk, the classic, in a bad way. And so the neighbors or the chassids go and they knock on the door. They finally find it. His wife answers the door. They say, "Is your husband Chaim here?" She says he's still sleeping off his hangover. They say, "Can you get him?" And he comes out and he's all staggering. He smells. And they say, "Can you? The rabbi wants to see you." So in those days, when the rabbi wanted something, people made sure it happened. Pause.
Joke time. Little footnote.
And the little footnote, he didn't get death threats for it. So, the chassids take him to Rabbi Yitzhak. The rabbi sits him down in his office. He says, "Chaim, it's such a blessing to be with you." He says, "Chaim, tell me about your Passover Seder. We had Passover last night. Okay. Did you gather the crumbs of chametz that you had left and think of the kavanot, the intentions of cleansing the sfirot of the mystical energy centers when you burned them the next morning?" He said, "Oh, Rabbi, I forgot to burn them. They're still in the house." He said, Chaim, when you had each of the glasses of wine, when you tasted a little bit of wine, did you think of the four-letter name of God? Did you understand this and embody it? No. Chaim, how do you celebrate Seder? Well, look, Rabbi, I got to be honest with you because you're my rabbi. Again, those were the days, right? And he said, so what happened is I know I can't drink my vodka during Pesach because vodka is made of grain, and that's. Does anyone know what the two alcohols, hard alcohols, you can drink during Passover? Gin and tequila. I know Shlivovitz is made of prunes, but why would anyone drink Shlivovitz anytime? I mean, you put it in your car for diesel fuel. So
you can drink gin.
It's made from juniper. Pure gin is juniper, and tequila is made of cactus. I know this because my 21st birthday was during Pesach. Okay, so I can tell you what. But beer and vodka are not. So he said, so I decided I was going to drink my whole week's worth of vodka in one night, and I passed out. And my wife, she woke me up and she said, "Chaim, what are you doing? Every other Jew is celebrating the Passover, and you're here drunk." And I looked at her and I said, "My beloved," because I was drunk. And my beloved, what can I tell you? I'm an ignorant Jew. I know we were slaves. God made us free. I know we are slaves today. God will make us free. And then I saw the beautiful table she had set with the wine cups and the candles, and I danced with her until I passed out. And Levi Yitzhak said, "May my place in heaven be next to you." That's the essence of Pesach. That we were free, became slaves, we became free. That's why we always start the Haggadah with the issue that we were free first. That's the essence. But there's all these other levels to really take that into a deeper level. And this year it's especially important. Because we are dealing with Pharaoh. If you take the word Pharaoh and you split the letters apart, it spells the words Pei Ra, evil mouth. There has never in my lifetime been more evil mouths against Judaism or Israel than there are right now. If you are not clear, there is very little difference between this and early 1930s Germany. The world. Israel, in a certain level, was created so the Holocaust will never happen again, and they're trying to make sure it goes away, aren't they? And everybody. And the world, I wasn't kidding about the death threats. So Hell just heard one of the pieces that someone tracked down my cell phone. And the kind of things that happen. So what can we do in Passover? Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said prayer means everything or it means nothing. So the first question to have for each of us to ask ourselves is, do we believe that each of us make a difference? Do we believe we make a difference? The Jewish attitude is yes. Rabbi Nachman has a great teaching that if my cigar, well, he wasn't referring to cigar, but if my cigar was a pen light, he uses a flashlight. If it was up, only one light's working. Okay, you only wanted one light. Now you're two lights. Oh my God, that's bright. Okay, no wonder only one light. Then my cigar, if I move it from there to there, it doesn't really mean much. But if my cigar had a light going out 1,000,000 miles, from there to there, 1,000,000 miles from now is a huge distance. We all make a difference, and Passover is about that. There's some things to do this Pesach that can help to make a difference. And either you believe that it's all a story and you believe that it's unimportant, or you believe it's everything. Pashal's right. Either prayer is everything or it's nothing. We just put up a video actually today about the fact that typically people who hate are people who do not have real faith. If you really have faith as a Jew, there's no room in your heart for hate. I don't have two hearts. If you really have faith as a Christian, there's no room for heart for hate. When I have Christian friends who want to convert me to Christianity, it's because they love me and want me in heaven with them. What a beautiful compliment. They'd never say hate doesn't come out of their mouths. That's one of the ways you know who someone is. So let's go over a little bit of these things. And I don't think we're going to get through this whole handout, but there's some things I specifically want to do. How many of you are having a Seder at your home? Okay, how many of you are attending a Seder? Okay, so we think. Who's not going to a Seder? You want to Seder? Okay, you guys, I was asking you. You not going? You go to our house? And you got a Seder?
Yeah, of course. Just checking. Okay.
I'd sit on your lap, but you got that big thing there that hurt me.
So I want you to sit it on my lap.
So, just for that, Gary, would you begin reading on page 1 nice and loudly about the hunt for the chametz? Passover begins before the Seder, and we need to really think about this year especially. So this is some of the stuff we've done over in past years. There's also a bunch of new stuff specifically about combating what's going on in the world with Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran and all the anti-Semites. Okay, and their payroff, their evil mouths. Please.
Passover secrets hidden in plain sight. And how
Loudly, they can't hear you on the streaming.
Passover secrets hidden in plain sight and how Passover can help the war in Israel. The hunt for Hamas before the Seder even begins. We are obligated to remove all Hamas from our home prior to the day before Erev Pesach. This year, that means by Sunday.
Okay, by Sunday you need to remove all chametz. Okay, anytime Sunday. So, what is chametz? Chametz is something that rises. Chametz is yeast, it's leaven. We interpret it all different ways, but basically, it's anything that if you put it in water for more than 18 minutes, it gets bigger. Okay. So, chametz is any breads, grains. There's actually listed grains in the Torah. Ashkenazi have made it so it's anything other than 18 minutes. It rises in less than 18 minutes. Sephardi say it's only those things listed in the Torah, which is why Sephardim can have rice and Ashkenazi cannot. And I know so many Ashkenazi Jews who suddenly become Sephardic for Passover. So you remove it all. What does chametz do? Chametz brings size but not substance. Chametz is puffiness, right? Chametz is arrogance. It's that prideful arrogance. It's not the solidity. It's not who we are. Matzah is the essence. Bread has all this puffiness, right? So the idea is to get rid of all our puffiness and get down to our essence of who and what we are and why we're here. So first, we'll go hunt for all the chametz. You got to hunt for it and find it by Sunday. You got to keep going. They'll tell you what. I know the author of this. They'll tell you what to do.
Okay. So if we are keeping any Hamas in the home, we are to lock it up or tape shut a pantry door so that it is inaccessible during the holiday, and then we are to sell all of it to a non-Jewish friend.
So you can't own chametz. Well, let's say I don't want to sell all the baked goods I got, all the pasta. I don't want to hold on to it. I want to throw it out. So I go to my non-Jewish friend and I say, will you, I'm going to lock it up, put it in a storeroom, a separate area, tape, locked, whatever. I'm going to list out everything I got. Will you buy it from me for $1? And then the idea is at the end of Passover, if he's a friend, you buy it back from him for $1. I once did that one year, and my friend said, no, he wanted a lot more money because it's mine. I said, fine, it's yours, but I've been charging you rent. So, point is that you just want to, so it's not, you don't have possession of it. It's a legal fiction, but it's a way of not owning any chametz. But if you do that, it needs to be locked or taped off cabinet or room or whatever it is.
Okay. So you lock up all the Hamas or you sell it to your neighbor. We are to consciously have to leave 10 crumbs of Hamas in the house.
So you consciously, like an Oriental rug that consciously have a mistake, you consciously leave 10 crumbs to be found.
On the night prior to Erev Pesach, we are to Hamas hunt by candlelight for the 10 crumbs and collect them. We are to collect them in a rag and burn them all in the morning of Erev Pesach.
So Erev Pesach is Monday night. So Sunday we've got everything clean. Sunday night we're to go on a chametz hunt with a candle and a feather and a rag traditionally. Gather them all up. Make sure we've got all 10 crumbs. And then in the morning on Monday we're supposed to burn them. Okay? Burning all of our puffiness and our arrogance. Who's ever done a chametz hunt? Oh, it's fun.
Is it both Ashkenazi and Sephardi?
It's everything. Yeah.
I've never seen it in their entire life.
Oh, it's a beautiful tradition. It's actually a lot of fun with the little kids. When they're teenagers, it's not so much fun. They're not so, but it's a lot of fun. And so you got to let's go find the hummus, and then you burn it in the morning. You're burning away all the unnecessary stuff. So you're preparing for Passover for the Seder. Please continue.
This is all symbolic of removing arrogance, remembering power of the 10 plagues and 10 commandments, and truly cleaning our souls prior to the holiday.
Okay, everyone got what the process is? This is the process done by observant Jews every year. Okay, this is not a new process. Okay, the chametz stuff. You got to clear everything out. Spring cleaning. Gary, please continue with what else for this year.
Yeah, this year.
So the things about this year, by the way, are italicized or darker, just so you know. Okay?
This year we need to have a specific kavanah, intention, when burning the 10 crumbs. We need to focus on burning all of the evil of Hamas at all in the world to create a new world of peace. This is...
Well, so chametz is the arrogance. It's the puffiness. It's not being honest. Excuse me?
What's the difference between that and chutzpah?
Chutzpah is just having the balls to do something. Chutzpah is having big cojones. Okay? This is not. This is prideful and arrogance. Chutzpah is to go up to a multimillionaire you don't know and say, "Hi, you don't know me, but I work with the temple. Can I get some money?" Okay? Chutzpah is what Jewish Federation has to do. Okay? But the pride and the arrogance. And if you really think about this issue of even the fact of calling Palestine when it doesn't exist, that in itself is just puffiness and arrogance, isn't it? So we want to burn it, destroy it. Please continue, because you'll especially like the next part.
This is the alchemical process, also known in Jungian psychologists known as calcinatio, the refining and purification by fire. As we burn the crumbs this year, we need to also focus on burning away the evil of Amalek, the evil of hate, and the evil of a world that wants to eliminate Israel. Through the purification of fire, how do you say it? Calcinatio. These evils can be transformed into the positive aspects of peace, respect, and an Israel that is in a long-term state of peace and prosperity with their neighbors on all sides of the region.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So let's talk about what is calcinatio. Calcinatio is the Jungian term that goes back before that to the Middle Ages, the alchemical process of transforming one thing to another thing through fire. Okay? One of the beautiful examples is, so there were the fires out here, right, and burned everything was black. But as a result of that, the earth got all this amazing ash, the soil became beautiful, and that spring was greener than ever. That's calcinatio. To be purified through fire. Okay? To be refined through fire. Metal goes through calcinatio when they make a metal sword. And anything, it's one of the processes, and Jungian psychologists use this in their deep work. There's a number of books about that. But the idea is that when we go through a fire, we come out different. This is also the concept of Native American sweat lodge, or schwitz, as we Jews call it. Okay, but you know what the Jewish triathlon is, right? A sauna, a steam, and a jacuzzi all in one day. So, well, that was funny.
That was cute.
So, calcinatio is the idea of burning something so it transforms into something else. All of the hate is based on fear, because that's what hate is based on, isn't it? It's based on status, on fear. And so what? Ignorance. Now, Amalek is pure evil. What Hamas did is beyond fear or hate. It is evil. If I believed in demonic possession, I would say that that's what happened on October 7th. The point is that that's evil and must be destroyed. Amalek must be destroyed entirely. We're taught about that. But there's also all this other part of the world that's not Amalek that are just useful idiots.
Yeah.
chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free, which just in itself shows such a lack of understanding or knowledge about anything historical. So we need to transform that. And one way that's a very quick transformation is through fire. Fire happens, the wood changes to ash, doesn't it? The substance becomes a different feeling, etc. So we need, when we burn the ashes, when we burn the chametz this year, to focus on totally burning and destroying Amalek, which is Hamas, but also using kalsanateo, using the fire as a way of transforming, since each of these 10 crumbs represents one of the different energetic centers of the Sefirot, both in ourselves but also collectively in the world, that we're burning it with the idea of cleansing out all the gunk, cleansing out that which needs to be burned and destroyed like Amalek, and transforming and refining that which needs to be transformed and refined like these idiots on college campuses. Was that redundant, saying idiot on college campus?
There is no Palestine, right? There is no country named Palestine.
There never has been. Never.
So when they're referring to that, what are they referring to?
They're referring to from the West Bank to Gaza and to Golan Heights into Egypt.
Which parts of Israel?
They're referring to Israel. Remind me, I'll send you an article I wrote about it because we talk about that kind of stuff. Just remind me here, and I'll send it.
Okay.
Orlando, will you send him the link to those 3 articles? Okay, thank you. God bless you. So the idea is this year when we burn the chametz, that we're burning it not just the breadcrumbs, but we're burning for the world that which needs to be burned and refined by fire. Okay? Puts a whole different take on this idea of looking for the crumbs in order to burn them, doesn't it? But it's a lot easier to find the crumbs than it is terror tunnels. And that's what we're really doing. All right, who wants to start reading the next one where it says the 5 types of maror? Someone loudly. Who wants to read?
The 5 types of maror, in order of preference, are lettuce, chicory, horseradish, endives, wormwood.
That's 5.
And wormwood.
In order of preference, the favorite one is actually used is lettuce. I know we all want the spice of horseradish, but this is actually why. Please continue reading.
The lettuce, which is least bitter, is most preferred. Why? Because it is tasteless and is compared to the slavery of assimilation. We don't even realize how bitter our lives have become as we get used to it, and the bitterness of assimilation becomes impossible to notice.
So hell, Josh, Gary, I have a question for you. How long have I been talking about anti-Semitism is on the increase and it's dangerous and we should watch out?
Over a decade.
As long as you know, right? And how long was I blown off about it?
Over
Long
a decade.
You've gotten used to it. This didn't just happen. October 7th did not just happen. What is going on in the world did not just happen. And kids chanting, Israel, you can't hide, you're committing genocide, didn't just happen. The UN becoming an anti-Israel organization didn't just happen. It wasn't like there was a flip overnight. It was a process. Just like putting a frog in boiling water, he'll jump out. But if you turn the water up slowly by slowly, in theory, he doesn't. We have let it go on. 1964, they decide to say, because of George Anderson, they decide to say there's this country called Palestine. The Palestinian Liberation Organization is formed with Arafat as its leader. To have a free Palestine, to have Palestine as a country. And the Jews were so damn stupid, they didn't get up and say this is BS. Show us a historical Palestine. Instead, they just ignored it because they were winning wars at that time. So what happens? They start inculcating the children. And 60 years later, it's accepted that Palestine is a history. There is no such thing. Palestine is a myth. There's never been a country, a king, an economic system, a culture, a language, or anything else of Palestine. Saying you're from Palestine is like saying you're from the Midwest, because the first time it's used by the Romans, who called the whole area Philistinia. The whole region, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Iraq, Egypt, all of it. The only nation in that region that are the indigenous people are the Jews, because we've been there for 3,000 years. We go back to Joshua, to the Davidic kingdom. Now, people conquered us, and we still were there, whether it was the Babylonians or the Romans or the Mamluks, the Ottomans, the British, but it's always been a Jewish kingdom. We are the indigenous people. And isn't it interesting that because we let this happen starting 60 years ago, we are now being told we're colonizers?
How can we fight that?
Education.
It's upside down.
It's upside down, it's education. And it's a hard thing to fight once it's been inculcated that long.
Right.
Because no one should accept that there's a Palestine. Ever. It's not true. Sorry, I was going to say something. Okay, it's just a fallacy. But it's been accepted. And had we stopped it in the 60s or in the 70s, or how many remember Arafat brought a gun into the UN? If we'd stopped it then, obviously my phone agrees. Let me just see, because that's the sound of WhatsApp from Israel. I just want to see if something happened in Israel. Okay, so please forgive me, because if that, I just want. Nope. Okay, that's not that side. Okay, so if we'd stopped it then, we wouldn't be where we are right now, would we?
It's our own fault.
And America wouldn't be where it is, and religion wouldn't be where it is. It's not, by the way, it's not just an attack on Jews. You guys know that. It's an attack on every person of religion. Everyone who is not a fundamentalist Muslim. That's what the Muslim Brotherhood says, what they are. Hamas says that they are an arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, which wants a worldwide caliphate of Sharia law. Okay? But we don't bother stopping it. In 1988, when Hamas is formed and they come out with their charter, they're not stopped at that point. It grew to this place. Just like slavery grows. We start to accept it. Oh, it's not that big a deal. They're just a few fringe people. It's not like they're in Congress or anything. Because in 1970 or 80 or 90, they weren't. 44 people voted against, 44 congressmen voted against Israel in the last 48 hours. I think God's majority voted for it. But so the issue of this maror is, it goes, lettuce is so important to realize that there is a bitterness even when it's a small bitterness. Does that make sense to everyone? This may be the most important part about how we're going to affect our Passover Seders this year to understand with what's going on in the world. Please continue.
As we start to talk about the maror at the Seder, we need to discuss why the lettuce is the most preferred. Let this lead then to a discussion about how the challenges we are having with Hamas, Hezbollah, Gaza started as lettuce and have only become the most bitter since October 7th. We also need to realize that in 1964, when the concept of Palestine was created, we, the Jews in Israel, ignored the lies and propaganda and let it build up over the years until this big lie has become an accepted truth. Like the slaves of old, we let the bitterness become deeper and bigger rather than stopping it when it first started.
Which makes it harder to stop now, doesn't it? So how do we stop it? It's harder now. But we got to make a statement.
We need to start somewhere.
We need to constantly be saying, there is no Palestine. This is not true. Here's the history. You're wrong. Look at the history. And do things like that. So let me ask you a question before we read on. How do you eat your bitter herbs at your Passover Seder? Most people probably use horseradish, pink or white. How do you eat your bitter herbs? Loudly.
Horseradish.
Okay.
Horseradish root, feta, pieces.
You dip it in salt.
No, that's the parsley. How do you eat them, though? Now you've got the horseradish. How do you eat it? By itself?
By itself?
No, what else do you put on it? Harosis. You put the sweet of the harosis, okay? Or the mortar of the harosis. Harosis.
Yes, but you do both.
You eat both. You put both.
I put ground horseradish on the matzah.
Right.
And I take a slice of horseradish in the harosis. Two different.
Okay. So the traditions was called a Hillel sandwich. Okay, that's where it comes from. It's actually Talmudic. It's called a Hillel sandwich. That you have some matzah, you have some maror, some bitter herbs, put some harosis, put some matzah, you have a Hillel sandwich. Who eats their bitter herbs that way? Okay? Okay. Please continue reading, so help.
When eating the maror this year, do the following things. Make the Hillel sandwich of maror and karoset, as you always do. But this year, put as many different types of bitter herbs as you can into that sandwich.
So usually we have white horseradish or pink horseradish or lettuce or chicory. We have whatever. This year, get all the different kinds of bitterness you can. All of them. Because there's a lot of bitterness in the world right now, isn't there? There's what's going on in Israel. There's what's going on college campuses. There's what's going on in major society. There's what's going on the evil mouth. There's what's going on in the governments. There's what's going on, right? All these different things. So find all the different types of bitterness you can find and use them all. We'll make this the idea of making this powerful and palatable. Please continue.
And put so much karoset in the sandwich that the sweetness overwhelms the bitter. Yes, that means it will be a much bigger Hillel sandwich this year than in the past.
Or big sandwich can be like an Arts Deli sandwich.
We always put lots of karoset on.
Well, that's because you're okay. So just as an aside, karoset is also supposed to be the mortar that ties us together. Okay, and you got Ashkenazi karoset, so you make with what you got, right, in Europe. So who makes karoset from home, from scratch? How do you make your karoset?
Dates.
Okay, how do you make your karoset?
Ashkenazi, apples, walnuts, manischewitz.
Apples, walnuts, manischewitz, right? Those things. Cinnamon. How do you make a Sephardic karoset?
Dates with
Walnuts.
honey.
Dates, honey, figs,
Figs.
orange peel.
No orange peel.
Oh no, Allison, I got a recipe where she shaves the little part of the orange to the outside of the orange into too.
Rind.
Orange rind, yeah. Okay.
I don't know. My cousin makes it and we eat it.
And which is better tasting, honestly?
Each year it's different. Each year you make a different one.
So this year we're going to take
It's very tasty.
Sephardic as well. Plus,
Very good.
okay, the other piece, I don't know, my biggest problem, one of my problems with eating matzah all week is it affects my digestive system in an unpopular way for me. As in, it doesn't work anymore. Does anyone else have that problem during Pesach? Okay.
Nope.
That's because you eat Sephardic karosis. Instead of having apples and nuts, you're having figs and dates. Try the apple karosis. It works so much wonders. It makes it all much better. So the idea being that you put all the different types of bitter herbs, and then you put even more sweetness to drown out and destroy the bitterness into binding together. Please continue.
We need to make sure to cover 3 topics during the night.
Okay? This is what you have to do in Pesach. 3 topics. Go on.
Pesach, Passover. Evil passes over the Jewish people as long as they are true to their path.
That is the teaching. It goes back to Talmud. We needed during Pesach Seder to go over that evil passes over the Jewish people as long as they're true to their path. Okay? When they're not true to their path, what happens? The book of Judges. Book of Judges. Every story is the same story. The Jews do what is not right in the eyes of the Lord. Bad things happen to them. It gets so bad they cry out to God. They start doing what's right in the eyes of the Lord. And God sends a judge, Deborah, Gideon, whomever. Yes?
I want to tell a little story that's related to what you said.
I like that.
At the dog park this week, we met a young woman who was...
Loudly, Mark. Wow.
At the dog park this week, we met a young
Here,
woman...
come up here.
Not mine.
No, that sounds specifically from WhatsApp groups. So.
At the dog park in Oak Park this week, we met a young woman who was listening to our conversation, a couple of Jewish people who we fetched about the war, who was raised in a house where Jews were the devil. She goes to grad school in Montreal and meets a Jewish young man. She is now done a 180 and realizes that all the bullshit, pardon my French, that she was taught by her parents and that she learned in school, it was completely, even went so far as studying Middle Eastern history, and she said Palestine. We were raised with Palestine. She says it's BS. That's education. She's married to a young Jewish man, and she, on her own accord, educated herself. Our Hebrew schools don't do that.
Don't blame me. Ours does.
Most of the Hebrew schools aren't doing that. That's where the ball has been dropped. We're killing ourselves. We are killing ourselves.
Because, Mark, most of the rabbis don't want to have that discussion.
Right.
You know a lot of rabbis like I do.
Yes.
Speaking of which, did that one survive or no?
Yes.
Okay. Out of the hospital?
For a day or two. He'll be back. He'll be back.
So, the book of Judges is all about us doing what's right in the eyes of the Lord. That's why I said last week, one thing that every Jew can do is start only eating kosher meat. Because just decide, when I say kosher meat, I'm not saying that as a hechsher. Just stop eating treif. No shellfish, no ham, no bacon. That little step is doing more what's right in the eyes of the Lord. Our greatest ally is not the Iron Dome. It's not the United States. It's God. And it always has been. I love Bob's comment once. You said, it's not fair. So a lot of things aren't fair. You remember you said? It's not fair. God's with Israel. So yeah, listen. Please continue. So that part is always, we're supposed to, as long as we're true to the Jewish pathway, evil will pass over us. That is a teaching every year. We need to make sure it's covered. Please continue.
I just want to make a comment before.
Sure.
God's going to look after everyone that follows his path. So if you do the right thing, regardless of what religion you have, you're going to be protected.
Absolutely.
So just doing the right thing. That's my opinion.
But remember, Hamas thinks they're doing the right thing.
No.
So
Doing the right thing is the right thing. You know
Right.
what's the difference
How do
between
you know what
right
the right
and
thing
wrong?
is? Oh, come on.
What do you
Thank you.
What do you say? The Torah?
The Torah tells us what the right thing is. Yeah,
Well-
you're going to say something.
Yeah, I think the thing that the piece that we leave out when we talk about Jews being the chosen people is the Jewish philosophy that what they want is they want peace and love for everybody.
Right.
But that doesn't come up. So I've talked to non-Jewish people. And you're so arrogant, but you think you're the only chosen people. They don't understand because we don't say that. We're not taught that.
Well,
to add that extra.
Many rabbis don't teach that. You wouldn't say all rabbis don't teach that.
Not
I
you. You're different. You're different.
But that's right. The point is that we are chosen to bring Torah to the world, which means peace. Not conversion, it means peace. I got no desire. See, I have zero desire to convert someone who's not Jewish. Why? Because God put him in that body. That's what God wants him to be. God wants the best Christian you can be, the best Muslim you can be, the best Hindu you can be. That's what God wants. Why? Who am I to say God's wrong? Right? So we're chosen, but that's what we're chosen for. Okay, so please continue reading.
What is that? Tikkun Olam?
Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. But to repair one person at a
I
time.
love that phrase.
This is important this year as we need to remember that our biggest ally is God. And the best thing each of us, diaspora Jews, do for the war effort right now is to be Jewish. Take on one extra mitzvah during this war. Keeping kosher, lighting candles, lighting Havdalah, wrapping tefillin. Passover teaches us that evil will always pass over us if we are true to our path.
You know how you become more observant? Very slowly. Heard it from a man named Ronnie Sarah, a wonderful teacher. Just take on one little mitzvah. One. Take it on this Pesach and keep it. At least till the end of the war. One. Just, it could be a little one. You don't like candles? Just like candles. You don't have challah in your house? Have a challah on Shabbat. You do that, but you don't like Havdalah candle. Let a Havdalah candle. Wrap it tefillin. Say, okay, you know what? I'm going to wrap tefillin on Mondays and Thursdays because that's when Torah readings are. Don't wrap it every day. Just wrap it on Monday and Thursday. I'm going to study. Every day I'm going to spend 10 minutes in study. Whatever it is, take on one Jewish mitzvah this Passover, and it will make a difference. Either what we each do as individuals means everything or it means nothing. In the Jewish attitude, it means everything. I'm going to use Mark as an example. You chose to take on keeping kosher
2 years ago.
and how to change your life.
Makes me feel elated.
That's simple.
It's that easy.
Just take one little step.
The truth is, I am proud of myself.
And you're conscious you're a Jew. Isn't that interesting? Just take on one little mitzvah. Just decide to wake up every morning and say the Shema and go to sleep. Before you go to sleep, say the Shema. Wake up in the morning and say Modeh Ani. Whatever it is. One little mitzvah. You want to do more? Great. But one little mitzvah take on for Pesach and keep it at least till the end of the war. Hopefully the rest of our lives, but at least till the end of the war. Okay? Please continue.
Matzah. Time. Time is precious. If matzah is made in 17 minutes and 59 seconds, it is kosher for Passover. 1 second more, and it's considered hametz and not fit for the Seder.
Okay, let's talk for a minute about matzah. How many of us grew up with the square matzah? Right? It's great. Don't have it at the Seder. Get shmura matzah.
Where?
Costco.
Not anymore.
Costco Woodland Hill still has a few $100. Go online. Yeah,
Fewer side effects or equal?
same. Doesn't matter. Sephardic Harosis. So what shmur matzah means? Shomer means guardian. It's been guarded to make sure from the time it's harvested to the time it's in the box, it's never around water more than a total of 17 minutes and 59 seconds. It's made by hand, which is why it's this big circular piece. It's where they get the communion wafer from, by the way, because that's how matzah came out. Matzah didn't used to be perforated in squares. Okay, and you need to have a little bit of shmur matzah. That's what we want to have at Seder. You can eat the other matzah too, but make sure everyone has a little bit of shmur matzah. We're going to see why in a moment, but a little bit of shmur matzah you can buy it, or you can even order online probably. The Jewish bookstores probably have it, and Jewish health stores, Jewish food stores, plenty of places in town. Okay, please continue.
We need to encourage each other to act with alacrity, as our ancestors did in getting out of Egypt.
Right? They said, get out of Egypt. Did our Hebrew ancestors say, okay, we'll be done in a week or two, we'll leave? Or did they get their tuchus out immediately? That's alacrity. You see something that needs to be done, you do it. Go on.
When you see something that is Jew-hating, anti-Israel, etc., call it out immediately. Do something to stop it immediately. Time is of the essence, especially when we are hoping to achieve a goal of freedom or peace.
How many of you, don't answer by hands, just think inside yourself. Since October 7th, I've heard a comment that you knew was absolutely wrong and a lie, and you didn't confront the person right then and there. So what? Did not. Okay? Did someone pass by and they said something about Palestine, you didn't say, excuse me, there's no such thing as Palestine. Or they said, it's horrible what's going on in Palestine. No, it's horrible what's going on in Gaza. There's no such thing as Palestine. Yeah.
I can answer that. Not too often.
Loudly.
We are insulated here. We are protected by geography. How long, I don't know. There was an incident in Westlake Village not that long ago that I found out when I returned from vacation elsewhere. But it occurs much more in other parts of the country. I'll give you an example.
It occurs here every day.
Many times a day in Oregon. We saw that, and we couldn't believe it 5 years ago. This is not since
There's a man get killed right here.
That's what you're talking about.
I talked about that.
But I could walk into Stonehouse. I could walk in there right now and just very loudly say, okay, excuse me, I'm just curious. Who really thinks that there should be a two-state solution with a state of Palestine so the Palestinians can have their own state like they always have? Certainly some percent would say yes. Depends who's hanging out tonight. Yeah.
Rabbi,
Orlando. Yeah. Loudly.
it's not surprising. We have international media lying about this.
Loudly.
We have international media lying about the myth of Palestine.
So, but you know what? People are being bombarded with that every day. Who's confronting it and saying, not true?
It's our own fault. We got to speak up.
Okay? I'm trying to think if I want to actually play part of that recording that you heard.
Play it.
So I stand up for that, and I'll say it in any venue. I don't know how many of you can hear this.
You're one of the few that does it.
So this is a voicemail on my cell phone from the other day. So this is saying, I saw you kike interview. So you guys, Hitler was right. To be honest, Americans hate you. You kike. You people should have been tossed in the ovens. What happened to you on October 7th is awesome. Okay? I don't need to keep going. Okay, that's on my cell phone. Orlando's seen some of the emails we've gotten. Haven't you, Orlando? Threatening my children, things like that. Yeah.
My son and I Friday. Now we both have.
Loudly, loudly.
We both have Israeli and American flags on our cars. Proud. Some guy who tried in front of us and everything else gave us the finger. We laughed at him. He got so angry he almost ran off the field. We react.
The point is that how many of us are stepping up and standing up? Because you want to know what to do, we need to all stand up. We need to all stand up. When you hear something being wrong, being said that's wrong, being done that's wrong, we need to call it out. And I want to move on. I want to move on for that. So one will come. Go ahead. So last comment.
I was going to say, you do stand up, but unfortunately, there are a lot of crazies out there that you don't know what they're going to do to you. So the question is, where do you stand up?
And how? That's a whole other question.
So in order not to be, I'm of the belief that I don't let anyone victimize me. I don't believe in being a victim. I'll stand up.
Exactly.
But if my wife and my daughter are there, do I just let it go? Because I don't want them to get hurt.
Oh, look,
so
we're in, you guys mostly been to our house in Westlake, right?
Yeah.
Right? How many of you know we moved? How many of you know? Yeah. See, and how many of you know where we live? See, it's not on the website anymore. We'll find out in Sukkot. I'll come over to Sukkot. But okay. But the point is, and in Sukkot we'll have more armed security like we always do. But the point is that one of the things we need to do is act with alacrity. When you see someone doing something wrong, you point out and say, "Look, schmuck." Okay? And how you do it is important because you don't need to put yourself in danger. Okay? So let's continue. Where were we? That was the time.
Let me finish.
Maror, go ahead.
Maror, assimilation. See above. The added practice above is one of the most powerful things you can do during Passover to help defeat the evil of Hamas.
The maror, the Hillel sandwich. Get all the different types of bitter herbs you can. Mix it with the harosas until you don't even have the bitter anymore. It's overwhelmed itself. Here's the other great thing about the bitter herbs. If you had all five of them, I don't even know where I'd get wormwood. I don't even know if you can. But when you mix them all together, what happens? I know that it tastes sweet, but it doesn't taste. They all lose their identity, don't they? They lose their strength. Yeah.
Yeah,
Loudly.
I have to disagree with the way in which you're suggesting that we stand up to people who are ignorant, which is what hate is, the outpouring of.
Well, it's hate, it's ignorance and fear.
Yeah, and again, personally, again, I have more of a Eastern Buddhist approach to it. That if you're delivering a message, you have to be that message. If we're talking about that Jews want peace, I think we have to speak peacefully. I am not the most religious, observant Jew, but as a result of what happened on October 7th, I'm very proud that I am a Jew for the first time that I'm willing to really say that hey, I'm a Jew. That's not, and that Jews' philosophy is to care about everybody and to have peace. And I think that's the message that we need to do.
Gary, however we convey the message, because everyone has their own style.
I understand.
And that's why each of us are so important. Right? I mean, it's right. Why each of us are so important. So
right. When I don't want your message to be.
It's not about
understood as.
No, it's not, because you know me.
That we're fighting against those who are fighting against us.
Well, we are. No, we are.
How you fight against them.
Literally.
Mahatma Gandhi fought against the
Agreed.
English.
Exactly. but he fought. He was fighting against it.
Yes, but he fought in a non-violent way.
I am totally. So, Garrett, you know, we all have to know that I am not seeking out fights or anything else of conflict. I'm here to educate. So, last month,
You're doing a good job.
thank you. Last month, I got an interesting email. Piers Morgan wanted me on a show. Yeah. It's a debate with Norm Finkelstein about Israel. He is truly the epitome of the self-hating Jew. Just leave it at that, right?
Okay.
And you know what I said? Thank you. If you want me on to just talk about something and educate, I'm happy to do it. Not interested. Not in the slightest bit interested. Thank you. Just not. Because, Garrett, for that exact reason you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not going into a situation to try and fight. The machlocha, let's go back to Talmud. The machlocha, the debate, is to learn together. I'm not going in. The goal of war in Judaism is peace, not victory. Our goal, we talk about, goal of war in Judaism is peace, not victory. It's peace. So, totally right.
You know, even your comments about Amalek and about how it's awful that we have to destroy that, but I understand that.
We have to.
And I think that's a reasonable.
And we have to cry about the fact that we got to destroy it.
Right, exactly. Right.
Okay?
And how dare you make me.
Oh, so here, I said this a couple of Shabbats ago. I haven't changed my position since October 7th. I haven't changed anything I'm saying. Except on October 8th, I was trying to calm people down to not be vengeful.
Right. Yeah.
And I was saying, yes, we need to destroy them, but they were born pure. Even if they lost their human souls, they were born pure, and we need to mourn them. Right. And today, I need to remind people, yeah, we need to destroy them too. So I haven't changed in that position, right, in these 6 months. And Judaism hasn't changed, but we have to have both, Gary. That's the point. That is
I
exactly
agree. And I support the idea, but again, that's not the way that I'm going to approach it.
No, and look,
I am going to approach it.
I can do more raising money for a hospital in Haifa here than I could ever do if I was in Israel. Huh. Were they going to take me and put me in a gun in a front line? What the hell am I going to do?
I was born in that hospital.
In Bnei Zion?
Rambam.
That's what it was called then, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Bnei Zion. So they built that whole nuclear-proof bunker, and they need equipment because they finished it in 2023. And and so they need equipment, and so been very proactive in trying to raise money. We've raised over $500,000.
99.9% for any army hasn't ever been achieved before. Any army, 99.9%.
We try hard.
Well, it wasn't just IDF alone. We had
Loudly.
It wasn't just IDF alone. There was a coalition of U.S., UK, Jordan, Saudi, even though they didn't mention anything.
Saudi took. But you know what? It's not about the Iron Dome or a coalition, or it's about God. Okay, that's what we need to remember. Okay, who wants to continue reading with some of the insights from Hasidic masters? Because these are fun. Who wants to read? Loudly. Josh volunteered with a loud voice. Oh, that wasn't Josh volunteering. That was Gary volunteering, Josh. Yeah. Nicely done. You threw your voice. I didn't see your lips move. That's fabulous.
Where are we?
We're on page 3 of 13.
In the heading there.
Some insights from Hasidic.
Some insights from Hasidic masters. According to the Holy Kabbalah, the first night, the matzah is called food of faith. The second night is called food of health. Don't miss an ounce of the second night, even if you are alone. From a text sent to Rabbi Barclay by Shlomo Schwartz on Thursday, April 21st, 2016.
Now, just so you understand the circumstances, besides the fact that he said it's my birthday, okay? Besides that, and he didn't know it was my birthday. We were going out of town, and Alice and I were talking. The kids are 7 years old. They're 6.5 years old. do we really want to bring everything we need for a second night Seder? Okay? And we're really wrestling with this. Those of you who know with my wife know that she may seem demure, but she's fine with that kind of wrestling. And it's like, no, we don't. And out of the blue, I haven't talked to him in a couple of months, Schwartzy sends me that text. Okay? Okay. With that language, because he used to do shorthand text like that. Yeah. So, you know when you trade in your phone for a new phone when you get, okay. I never traded in that phone. I still have that device that still has that text because of that text on it. Okay? Wherever you are, have some matzah first night, have some matzah second night. Food of faith, food of health. You want good health this year? You want to lower your blood sugar, lower your carb, lower your whatever, get healthier, get your heart stronger? Have some matzah and focus on the matzah on the second night. Okay? But that's my short. You know, we got Schwartzy. Who knew Schwartzy? Who's here? No one here knew. Mark, you never met Schwartzy? Orlando did. Okay, special guy. Special. Founded the first Chabad house in the country, and then left Chabad. No, he went to Rebbe's permission because he didn't like what was going on. So he formed something called the Chai Center, which still exists. It's run by his son, Rabbi Mendel Schwartz. Okay, please continue.
Rabbi Nachman taught that we should be careful not to be so stringent in our practice that we become depressed rather than uplifted. He was especially clear about this concept in Passover, where many people went so far in observing the many fine points of custom that they were actually depressed by the holiday.
Is that the goal, that you end it and it's like God?
No.
Now, at some point in it, it should be, oh God, because it's about painful stuff when we're in slavery. But the idea is you start free, we become slaves, we get free again. It should be happy. It's like a good movie. But it can be look, Judaism in general is a great religion if you're OCD. And Pesach's the best holiday if you're OCD. You can obsess about so much. Okay, please continue.
The Chasam Sofer, 18th century, made a habit of immediately drinking coffee as soon as the Seder finished. He would then stay up with his children and students discussing and studying about Passover until sleep overwhelmed
Isn't that
them.
a great custom? Not to just end with the Seder's end, Chad Gadya, I know one, next year, all this.
Did we do that at your house one time?
Yeah, we did. I was trying to do it all the time. Go on, please continue.
Take this habit and adapt it into your own family. Watch Prince of Egypt or discuss what it means to be free with your family members after the Seder. Don't let the conclusion of Chad Gadya end the evening. Rather, let the Seder meal begin the deeper understanding of what freedom means.
Now we're going to take it to where we are today. Go on.
This year, study the history of the region of Israel and the fallacy of Palestine after the Seder, as well as the covenant of 1988 Charter of Hamas, so that you are aware and can intelligently convey the truth. Here are some resources for you online.
So I have included here a bunch of videos and articles, okay, about anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism and why. What is anti-Semitism? Why do people have the ad? And none of these are really long, by the way. The ones by Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs are 5 minutes long each. They're animated, they're just beautiful teachings with animation. He was so eloquent, it's amazing. God rest his soul. Different things for you to study and learn so that you can have a talk with people. Because how many of you are going to have people at your Seder, or you're going to be at a Seder with people who think there should be a Palestine? Or people who think that Palestine is historical? Or people who think, well, is not anti-Semitism. As Rabbi Sachs has said so beautifully, anti-Zionism is the 21st century version of anti-Semitism. Period. In the Middle Ages, they hated us for our religion. They hate us for other reasons, but they expressed it about hate for our religion. In the 18th through 20th century, they expressed their hate. It's because we were living in the cities now, involved in arts and science and culture, and there was the scientific study of race. They expressed their hate as hating our race. 1948, it becomes they expressed their hate not for our race or our religion, but for our country. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Study it. Here's some great resources that are easy. They're all very accessible. One is, I think I put included in there a 1.5 minute take. And there's a couple of Lord Sachs There's something of mine, I think. I also think I included something of Newt Gingrich in a 2016 presidential debate, where for a minute and a half he says, okay, and whatever you think of Gingrich, there's a lot of things you can think about him. The man's a brilliant historian. I mean, a lot of comments you can make about Newt Gingrich. As a historian, the man's a genius. I mean, he's a brilliant historian. Has a minute and a half saying, look, there is no Palestine. So very succinctly and easily. Okay? I got my own issues with Gingrich, but he's a brilliant historian. Look at these resources. Look at the covenant of 1988. Anyone who says we want peace with Gaza, we want peace with Hamas, has never looked at their covenant, their charter, which says, and I quote in Article 7, the day of judgment for the Muslims will not come until every Jew in the world is obliterated, and those few that still exist hide behind rocks and trees, and the tree calls out, O Abdullah, O Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me. This is their covenant. This is their charter. So when someone says, oh, let's sing Kumbaya with Hamas, it can't be done. Okay? Cannot be done. Please continue.
There are three things for which man has destructive appetites. They are money, sex, and food.
All right, this is not true. This is the whole Hasidic teaching. Is that money, sex, and food? Well, for that's no, only in that order because he's going to tell you why that order.
Three festivals. These three appetites can be rectified. Pesach is the rectification of money. It is thus written: God gave people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked. The Egyptians, their enemies, gave the Israelites gold and silver against their will, since they did not want it at all. This is therefore a rectification for the appetite of money. Shavuot is the rectification for sex, and Sukkot for food and greed. We will study those passages more during those festivals.
Great irony. What did the ancient Hebrews do with the gold and metals and jewels that they were given by the Egyptians?
They created their own idol.
They created their own idol. Okay. Pesach is a primary commandment. We are told you will remember do this night. It's at the very first Passover that this will be done every year on this night. Okay, let's turn the page. Go a couple other little things. So we're going to skip over. Wait, let's see. Oh, here's one. No, let's not skip over. Change the place. Okay, let's not skip over yet. Let's turn to page 5. For those of you who don't speak Hebrew, that was page 5, or speak Cigar, that was page 5. Who wants to read loudly some modern ideas for a Passover plate? These are fun little things to do in your Pesach plate. Come on, who wants to read loudly? Somebody. Come on, somebody who wants to volunteer.
Gary.
Gary already read.
I read.
Up, over here. Over here. I saw a hand.
Come on.
My father was an auctioneer. You go like this and I noticed.
Orange. The myth is
Loudly, loudly.
The myth is that a man said to Susanna
This is about having an orange on your Passover plate.
Heschel, the daughter of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Hetzel, that a woman belongs on the pulpit like an orange belongs on a Seder plate. As part of the feminist movement of the late 20th century, some families place an orange on the plate to symbolize that women do, in fact, belong on the pulpit.
By the way, is there a history of women rabbis? Who says yes? Who says no? Okay, the answer is yes. There's discussion in Talmud about what a woman can wear when she's reading the Torah publicly. She can't wear too loose of a dress because when she does and bends over, the men won't be paying attention to the Torah reading. No, this is a discussion, right? Which tells us what were women doing then?
Reading from the pulpit.
Reading from the pulpit. Bending over. So we get this back. No, so women do, and so there's no issue with that. But because the story goes that someone said to Susanna Heschel, they were talking about women being on the pulpit. A woman belongs on the pulpit like an orange belongs on a Seder plate. And so women started putting oranges on the Seder plate. Okay? Just to Write that up. Please continue. What's the next thing?
Miriam's cup of water.
I like this one.
A glass or cup of water placed next to Elijah's cup. This is to symbolize the importance of Miriam's well, which kept the Hebrews nurtured throughout their journey in the desert. Some people will hold it up at the beginning of the telling of the story when Miriam is mentioned for placing Moses in the water with the following words.
You can just do the English.
Z gave
You can just do the English. It's okay.
This is the cup of Miriam, the cup of living waters. Let us remember the Exodus.
Miriam the prophetess is so important, and I think it's nice to have a water cup for her. I just think it's a nice tradition. The next one I put out there, I will not bother giving my opinion about it. However, I think it is a modern custom. Please continue with Ruth's cup.
Ruth's cup. In the last 3 years,
It's a little bit more than 3 now. It's about 5 to 10. Go on.
some very liberal communities have placed a cup of wine for Ruth on the table. This is to symbolize inclusiveness, specifically for the LGBTQ community. The challenge with this theology is that it adds a 6th cup of wine, which takes away the entire balance of God's name, and more importantly, that it separates and points out a distinct part of the community. The story of Ruth is specifically and directly in opposition to this concept. The story is about a stranger integrating into Judaism, not Judaism integrating and distinguishing the separateness of a stranger. By making the LGBTQ community member distinct and a special observance, it actually precludes integration into Judaism and stops the concept of Passover that we were all strangers in a strange land and that we all come out together.
So here's a problem, right? There are people in our community who are Jews by choice. They were born in non-Jewish bodies. They converted to Judaism. I can't, with the exception of maybe one, I can't tell you who they are because I forget. Because you're a Jew. There's no distinction, right? As opposed to, oh, let's take care of Gary. Gary's not. But let's take care of Gary who converted to Judaism. Gary, how do you feel about that? We're going to make you a special example because you're a convert.
I'm a Jew.
I've excluded him. As opposed to, I don't even bring it up, right? Because he's part of the community. We all came out of Egypt together. We were all strangers in strange lands. And if you think for a moment that in ancient Egypt, there were not Jews who had different sexual preferences, you're denying humanity, however small or large the amount. Yet it doesn't say in the Torah the Jews came out along with those gay Jews too. Does it? That would be ridiculous and painful. So my biggest objection with it is that it misses the entire point of the Passover story. It changes it all to say that this group is separate. Who cares? Should it also say, we're going to put over here, I'm going to put on the table, wait, can I stand up over here? I've decided to put a new thing on the Passover table. I'm going to put a piece of onyx, and it represents all of those Jews who are not white but are black or brown or other colors than white. That sounds stupid, doesn't it? Because we're all Jews. We're all people. So what the heck do we need to have that? We're all strangers in a strange land. Am I going to put another? I'm going to make a little Everspring out of palm fronds, a little cross like Palm Sunday. For all of those non-Jews who came out of Egypt and all of those non-Jews who are holy, righteous people who are not Jewish. Does that make any sense? Or is it stupid? Honestly, what do you guys think? It's antithetical to what Pesach is. We all come out together. Black, white, yellow, green, gay, straight, Jewish, non-Jewish. By the way, did non-Jews come out in Passover too?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. They're called the multitudes of nations. When we go to the Sea of Reeds, they go this way. And in fact, the Yoruba people of Nigeria have a beautiful teaching that they came out with Moses. And they have their own stories and teachings about Moses and Joshua. And they say that Moses played the junjun drum and Joshua played the talking drum and the djembe. They had these myths before the white man came to Nigeria to preach the teachings. So why do we need to distinguish anyone? All slaves must be free. Please continue. Other foods and customs. Loudly, 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 loudly. You gotta get louder.
To serve the Z or arm of God. Celery dipped in vinegar instead of parsley and salt water.
Okay, so guys with an outstretched arm, so we have cucumbers, celery dipped in vinegar instead of parsley and salt water. Here's a favorite one that I know, so Helen and other people have done. Go on, the next one.
Scallions to whip each other with during either the recitation of the 10 plagues or the singing of Diana.
How many of you have been to a Seder where you whip each other with scallions? And do they make a mess? Oh, it's great. Flame! Flame!
The kids love it.
Kids love it. Oh, it's fat. It's so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
Just a waste of good scallions. Please continue. This is a good one.
In Gibraltar, a small bit of actual brick dust is added to the carousel. The Seder leader,
Okay, because it's about the bricks, right? Go on.
The Seder leader also runs 3 times around the table when the Haggadah says we left Egypt in a hurry, holding the Seder plate and hitting each person's head lightly with it while passing by them.
This is really a lot of fun, but it's a pain in the tuchus for the Seder leader, trust me. Because you're running around going. Okay, please continue.
In Syria, there is the custom of putting matzah in a knapsack and carrying it while the Haggadah story of exiting Egypt is told. In Hungary, people bring all their jewelry and put it on the Seder plate as a symbol of the golden rings that were given to the Hebrews upon exiting.
And then that habit from Hungary was translated when it came to America after World War II, especially on the West Coast, that then all that jewelry is donated to the synagogue. So Hell says we take jewelry,
That's
life
right.
insurance policies.
You know, I think I heard about that.
You've heard that one, right? Continue.
Hasidic Jews from the Polish town of Gora, known as
Ger Chasids.
Reenact the crossing of the Red Sea on the 7th day of Passover by pouring water on the floor, lifting up their coats, and naming the towns that they would cross in their region of Poland. They raise a glass at each town and then thank God for helping them reach their destination.
There are a lot of towns that get very sugar. Go ahead.
This is a small adaptation of the Kabbalistic Last Night Seder that is done by our mystics as we embark on the journey of counting the Omer, awakening our Sifirot, and choosing the freedom of the desert as opposed to the velvet prison of Egypt.
Okay, we're going to bypass a little bit because of time. You guys can all take these home because of other things. So someone please turn to page 9 and talk about the last night of Passover in the bottom of page 9. Who very loudly would like to read? Somebody. Up. Oh, the light's over here. Yeah, I guess it's.
Why not? The second major climax of Pesach
Nice and loud.
comes with the 7th day of the festival, recalling the splitting of the Red Sea, which the children of Israel crossed on dry land, while the Egyptians were finally destroyed. The timely parting of the waters was one of the most striking historical exceptions to the normal workings of nature, showing that God is in total control of every part of creation, making and suspending the laws of nature at will. The 7th day of Pesach is an appropriate time for reflection on God's control of natural processes and the concept of miracles. It is also time for looking forward to the messianic redemption that we are now awaiting, hailing the restoration of the Holy Temple, and bringing the world to be filled with the knowledge of God as the waters covers the seas.
So, for a brief moment, I was wondering something when Iran attacked Israel. anyone notice that they attacked the mosque? Are you aware of that?
No, they went over it.
No. They targeted it.
They targeted the mosque. Or at least it was heading towards the mosque. And part of it was thinking, okay, there's the third temple.
That's what I thought too.
Okay. Please continue reading. Last night of Passover.
The last night of Passover is the evening when our ancestors stood at the edge of the Sea of Reeds with the Egyptian army behind them. It is the time when that generation experienced the parting of the sea and the total redemption from slavery as they entered into the wilderness of freedom. And it is an ancient custom from the mystical tradition of Judaism that we hold yet another Seder on that night so we can carry the teachings of Passover with us.
Good one.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, the references,
Okay.
yeah.
Before going further, it's useful to understand the length of the Passover holiday. In Israel, it is 7 days long as commanded in the Torah. Because of the potentially getting the date wrong in the diaspora, Passover is 8 days long here. Some Reformed Jews choose to observe it 7 days, even in the diaspora, and more observant Jews observe 8 days of Passover holiday.
Now you know why some observe 7 and some observe it 8. Okay? Just because I know that's always, when does Pesach end? I get that question all the time. Okay? No, it's when the rabbi says so. Go ahead.
Because when the last night is to be aware of the dangers of assimilation and slavery, and choose the freedom of an unknown wilderness filled with hope and opportunity. We do this by having the last night of Seder, complete with the Seder plate of matzah, maror, etc. However, instead of just retelling the Megid, part of the Seder, where we tell of the plagues and the Exodus, we additionally talk about that evening at the edge of the Sea of Reeds. It is a time to discuss the fears we have about the responsibilities that come with spiritual freedom. It is a transition time when we remember being slaves and remind ourselves of what that we are personally slaves to in our own lives today. And it is then an evening where we focus on how we want to live as free men and women.
But so here's the reality. Get rid of my flashlight. Here's the reality. We are all free. What's one of the biggest distinctions between a free person and a slave? If I say whatever to Gary and Gary's my slave, can he talk back to me? No. If I say, hey, slave, it's daytime, can he contradict me?
Not if he values his life, I guess.
As a free man, what's his responsibility? To say, Rabbi, you're Meshuggah. Right? That goes back to the issue. We are free, yet we still, all too often, are acting like slaves. Go along to get along. Right? That's a slave's attitude, not a free person. So, because of the sake of time, we're going to go over one other thing, the magic number in Judaism and in this Pesach Seder. God's name, Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, written vertically. Looks like a human being. There are 4 letters in God's name. And the very tip of the Yud at the top is called the Kutz of the Yud, the infinitesimally small part. It's there, but not there. So there's always 4 plus a hidden 5th throughout Judaism especially. How many cups of wine? 4 plus 1. It's not 5, it's 4 plus 1. 4 we drink, and Elijah. Okay? By the way, there's a wonderful custom we do. I don't even know where I first heard that when it comes time for Elijah's cup, we all empty a little of our own cup into making Elijah's cup of wine. That we all are part and parcel of it. And then you realize how important every person is, because if no one does it, you don't have the full cup. Eliyahu's one. How many questions are there? 4 plus 1. There are 4 questions, but the very first question is encountered as a question, which is why isn't tonight different from all the nights? Right? Then it goes on, and all the nights we sit or recline, and here we learn to recline. Why? but there's a hidden one, so it's 4 plus 1. How many children? The wise, the wicked, the simple, the one unable to inquire. But then there's a big blank space for the 5th child who doesn't even know Passover exists. 4 plus 1. It's all reflective of God's name. When we do this Pesach Seder, and there's a lot more information in here for you. But when we do this Pesach Seder, we are combining all of the elements of God's name to create freedom. Peace. Gary said it well. Peace, not victory. We create this with what we do. Passover, it means everything or it means nothing. So here's my question. After having spent an hour and a half doing this, how many of you are going to take something away and do your Seder or that Seder night or Pesach a little bit differently this year? Then it's a win. So Chag Sameach, B'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, next year may we all be in Jerusalem. And thank you, and make sure you get some shmur matzah. Remember, Schwartzy said, first night's food for faith, second night's food for health. If you want to be healthy, have some matzah. Okay, and we'll take it from there. We have services Saturday morning. We'll study session and services on Saturday morning. So, Chag Sameach to everybody, and thank you. And have some cigars. We have some left over. That's yours.